Hey Clashers, this base right here has defended really well for me in Legends. Just take a look at that screenshot, for example. Minus 194. It is in 7, but the reset for me was 6,100 trophies. So really high up there. So I'm super happy with how the base did. So I thought, let's just deep dive a little bit further into the base, identify why it works good. Let's take a look at the traps and things you can learn for your own bases. But if you're just here for the base link, don't worry, I will put that down below in the description of the video as well. On top of that, though, I have a link for my new base building server down below as well, because I've received so many questions if I could share and sell bases and such. So I thought, let's give it a try. We're going to test that for the October season, where I will have as well the first time ever my base subscription, so you can use the bases I'm using in Legends at the same time. So when I'm using this base, the same time, you can use the base as well with having the correct traps, having the correct clan castle, and everything about it. But as well, because the subscription is going to be limited, I will as well have an area so we can talk about bases in general. I will share some free bases over there as well on the server and just see how people will like it. That's going to be happening with the Discord server down below. But let's get back to the base and take a look at why this base actually worked so well. One of the key things whenever you're looking at a base and how players will approach it are the fire spitters. People love to avoid those fire spitters, and those two are pointing both towards the core, with leaving kind of like a dead area from the back of them. So what most people did, which kind of makes sense, is charging either from the bottom side, the top side, or the right side. Those were the three most common approaches for Roy Champion charge. So I just tested it in Legends and see where did people go in the most. Because first off, I baited this entry from down here, but it seems like 70 to 80% did the Roy Champion charge at the top side. So let's take a look at the traps. Because what I did then is I just trapped the Roy Champion charge from the bottom side. But in the current meta, that is not enough to stop an attack. I always took down the Fox, but the same thing, I did that for the top side. Now it was a flip on where they're entering, either from this side with the Roy Champion charge at the top, or this side. As I said earlier, the majority of people, for whatever reason, went in from the top side, so that's why I deployed the traps here. The first right mines are mostly there. Yes, they can take down healers, but they're mostly there to take down those test loons. With those 7 red mines, we're able to take down the test loons. And then right after, we have 5 black mines, a little bit spread out, but making sure that all of those healers are gone as soon as the healers would cross this line. With that, pretty much the entire base is left because they have taken care of the top side, went in over here, and at this point, they have lost all of their healers. So this entire base on the far left side would be all still left, and you have to take that out without healers. Which on some bases is still possible. That's the stat used. That's how the state of the game currently is. It won't be possible in the future, but that's how it works right now. But this is where we use a couple of other tricks of like timing the clan castle troops, which is going to be lured here, and then the range of the crusher mortar, which is right here. So you can see it matches. As soon as the troops are over here, the ice golems are approaching. We have a triple ice golem clan castle with this one. And that will not have a great time. Like, if there's any ground still left, that tower says to go down, that is not a great spot to be in. So that is for sure something which I tried to set up, and it did work quite a bit, as you have seen in the beginning from the screenshot. Now you might wonder, okay, iTzu, there's more things you have to consider, because that's just ground, right? What about air? Well, air attacks the 2 common entries. The first one, being the most used, is on this far right side, which is kind of 50-50 where the Roy Champion goes next, right? Well, I tried to make this a little less, like least 50-50 as possible. So what I did here is, first off, I used the Giga Bomb a little bit towards the top side, because this is having a little bit of a pushback. So what happens here is the Giga Bomb goes off, the Roy Champion comes in from over here, and the Giga Bomb is pushing the Roy Champion just one tile, but that one tile is important towards the bottom side. So the Roy Champion is kind of like staying over here, like on this one. Then she's moving forward to the multi-arch tower, and with the Tesla, she's always getting lured to the bottom side, which means to avoid the second fire spitter, all dragon attacks running from the top right side. Win-win, right? So with this opening, then we were able to not just defend ground, but as well air, because we pushed the air and ground opening into the same spot. And that is something which is super crucial right now, because you heavily have to bait certain entries. That might change with the update, where the game is overall becoming harder with the battle modifiers in high legends. So then you're going to move those traps towards like closer to the core, which by the way is going to like nerf dragons indirectly quite a bit, having them closer to the core and not like gamble it like over here. But that's, I guess, a different story. But this means both entries did the same thing for me. Now, the next thing, and that is one of the most crucial things which you might completely underestimate, which I've learned over the last week, is air defense placement. I've watched a lot of pro defenses and I've always wondered, why do pros lose their healers so quick? And this is not because they're bad. I mean, that's not how it works. But they're using a combination between Poison Tower, which we cannot use just yet, because with the battle modifiers, Poison Towers are going to deal more damage, so that's going to be a big game changer. But the most important thing is they're using air defenses inside the middle of the base, which is such a big game changer. So I think we will take a look at the replay, and we're going to learn two things on why it's not just important versus air, but as well versus ground attacks, that you have those air defenses closer to the core than you might think. Because in the beginning, I would have for sure guaranteed switched those buildings. Like put the Rico cannon where the air defense is and the air defense on the outside. The same thing maybe over here. I would have maybe placed the air defense on the outside as well or something. So having the air defense more like a Royal Champion pathing tool towards the outside of a base. But that is completely wrong. For two reasons. The first reason being air attacks. That's why we're watching right now the current attack. Because if you're having the air defenses closer to the core, this means, for obvious reasons, they can easier fire into different directions and have as well more hit points around them than if they would have deployed on the outside. So that's the first thing. Dragons are going to suffer quite more versus further inside air defenses. That's super obvious, no big surprise here. And we can see, by the way, again, the attackers coming from the top side. I really don't know, but really 70 to 80% it came from the top side. I don't know why they did it, but I quite like it. The next thing now is ground attacks. Why ground attacks? Why air defense is important? Well, the thing is, especially then in the new meta, where you're not gambling with those traps, by the way, that's fun. All the red mines are hitting, black mines are happening, and he's like, oh, panic mode, let's activate the warden. The problem is, there's still a lot of base left, right? So like all the air defenses and such, there's no warden ability left. So it's like a lose-lose. If you're getting pushed into such a trap, for air attackers, they are not going to have a great time whatsoever. And like, take a look at the core now. He's trying to take it out, but there is so much damage. The mini opponent's ability going to the wrong direction. But let's get back to the ground attacks with the air defenses. Because, as I said earlier, those outside red mines and such are not necessary anymore with the battle modifiers. But instead, what you can do is put those black mines closer to the core like this. But the problem now is that a ground attack at this point typically has like half a Lalo in front of it. Which means what you have is you have the 3 to 4 test loons from the beginning. Then on top of that you have a troop thrower. Keep throwing those loons in there. And what is supposed to take those loons out? Like, there is nothing in the base. This is not where the air defenses are coming in. Those air defenses are deployed in positions where, for example, the sweeper is pushing the loons away and make sure the pathing into the air defense is a bit tricky. So the air defense can then take down all of those different test loons, which then allows those black ones, which you have deployed further to the core, as I said earlier, they are now allowed to hit the healers. And that is the crucial thing. You have to take down the test loons to actually attack the healers. And those core or further core air defenses are doing exactly that. And at the same time, you can see it here, without those air defenses on the back end, this would have been a guaranteed 3-star. So doing those adjustments, you're not just defending better air, but as well ground. This is something which I have learned over the last week, which is super crucial right now in the current meta, where we have heavily dominated by ground smash type attacks, and as well then the mass dragon type attacks. And those air defense tweaks, which I did to those bases, like this base for example, was magic. I mean, that was a complete game changer. I can just recommend that for everyone out there. But I think now we have discussed a couple of those trap placements. We have discussed the air defense placement. We have discussed the true pathing and how you can identify that, for example, with fire spitter placements, for example. I think now we should take a look at the spring traps and how that's going to change in the future. Because currently, all you do with spring traps is put them on the outside and try to spring trap Valkyries or Ice Golems. So for example, on this one, as I said, I expected 2 different entries, either from this top side or from this bottom side for ground attacks. Which means if someone's entering here, the Ice Golems are supposed to get springed. Then we have Valkyries, for example, getting placed over here. Since the root riders will take some time to open the compartment, they will go to the outside and they will hit those spring traps, the same at the bottom side here. So this is how you're using spring traps right now. How is that going to change? Well, spring traps are going to be changed. And we know most of it so far already. Which means right now how they work is if something is having 18 housing space or less, it's just getting spring trapped away. Easy, simple. But it was kind of useless versus most of the troops. Because by the time that the trap was designed, I feel like the Golem was the only troop which did not trigger the spring trap. Now we have Golem, we have Root Riders, we have Titans, we have Super Yetis, we could go on forever, it feels like. We have so many high housing space troops that the spring trap is completely outdated. So Supercell is changing that based on a concept of mine, where if the housing space is too high, instead, the spring trap then deals damage, kind of like a black mine to some degree. What this means is now golems, root riders, all of those troops are not getting spring trapped away, but they're taking damage now. And the same thing is for heroes. So instead of having them now on the outside, which for sure, like spring traps are going to be one of the most important, important traps in the entire game. It's going to be crazy. So instead now we're going to collect all of those and have to redeploy them. There's now two main use cases for them. The first one is for Royal Champion charges. Firstly, obviously it's dealing damage to the Royal Champion, but the more important thing really is that Supercell is well shared that if a troop is not getting taken care, like is dying, so like it's having that little amount of hit points that would go down from the damage of the trap, then it's getting spring trapped away. But if that's not happening, if the troop is having too many hit points left, for example, I don't know, those numbers are now completely like random. But let's say the trap would do like 1000 damage and the root rider, which is triggering it, is having 2000 damage, for example. Then the troop would just get pushed into the air. The same thing happening to a Royal Champion charge. Why is that important? Because if you're now deploying spring traps like this, okay, if she's going for the mortar, then Wizard Tower, then as well over here, then she's going to stay right next to the spring attacking this mortar. She's going to get pushed in the air and cannot attack during that time. If you now do this for multiple spring traps, like let's say now she's going to the bottom side because of the Giga Bomb, she's going to get pushed to the bottom side. So like maybe over here some, then she's moving forward to the multi-arch tower, then to the Tesla, maybe like a safety spring trap. So we have already like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spring traps hitting. Now imagine one spring trap is costing, because of the push into the air, 1 to 2 seconds. Let's say 2 seconds where the Royal Champion cannot attack. With those 6 traps, that's already 12 seconds where the Royal Champion cannot attack. That is a crazy time waste, considering that the Royal Champion charge is always on a timer. Because you have only a limited amount of time where you have invisibility spells, and as soon as they are going to run out, your Royal Champion is either dead or you have to recall her or do something about it. So that is why the spring trap rework, not just because of the damage, but as well because of the push-up, is just going to be a huge game changer in countering the Royal Champion charge. The important thing here overall is though, it's so, I mean, if you know a spring trap, it's so hard to deploy them properly that they're always going to be triggered. That is going to be a real challenge. And this is going to really where the best of the best base builders are going to like exceed, and really, I mean, that's going to be quite tricky. So I feel like for most players then, the option number 2 is coming in. Which means the option number 2, because predicting a Royal Champion charge already can be kind of tricky, but something else which is typically easier is, okay, people are entering on the right side somewhere, so they're going to finish on this left side. So let's just make sure that we're having all the springs on the backends. The root riders are going to really go down quickly over there. Or for me, okay, root riders are always going to this compartment. If they're entering from down here, they have to go through this compartment as well. So let's just put all the spring traps. Remove the black mine. Let's put all the spring traps over here because they're going to get triggered anyways. So you can really use them in 2 ways. Counter the Royal Champion charge, which really needs heavy time investment in testing because you need to trigger them. Or the other option is make sure that you're deploying them where you guarantee know that ground troops, Super Yetis, Root Riders, and such things are going through, and you're able to counter them quite easily now because now finally they're affecting tanks and can deal damage. The exact numbers on how much damage like heroes or troops or whatever are going to take, we're going to know that then with the sneak peeks. But at least for now, that is how we're going to, like, that's how you will use them. Whatever damage it is going to be in the end, that's how you use them. Those are the two main use cases for spring traps in the future. And again, if this is now all too complex for you, don't worry. On Saturday, which is then like 2 days before the new season starts, I will share as well a free base on my Discord server, as I said earlier, the base building Discord server. And feel free to join over there. Then you have as well some free bases, or join the subscription if it's not already full. But either way, I hope you enjoyed this video. Deep diving into a couple of trap placements, identifying pathing in your base and how you can trap that properly. And it's already talking a bit about the future spring trap and how you can utilize it the most so you're getting ready for the next season and as well for the update. Otherwise, that's it from me today. Thank you so much for watching the video. I will see you guys back tomorrow with the next class video. Until then, see ya and bye-bye.